handle this? How do men speak out, whether it's at a university? I mean, they'll get themselves in trouble. If it's on the job, they'll get themselves in trouble. If it's in a relationship, they'll get themselves in trouble. And they're taught this. They're taught to fear it, as you well document. So how do they go about it?
Well, I think there are different ways, and I talk in the book about, different ways to deal with it. Certainly, if you have a girlfriend or, somebody potentially that you want to marry, I talk about ways in the book to kind of, get to know this person for a longer period of time, sort of get a feeling for how they treat you. I think a lot of men jump into things. They feel if they like a woman or they sort of, they get involved, and I think it's very hard for them to pull themselves back and to really put boundaries on women. And it's hard. Men aren't hardwired to, they're kind of hardwired more to protect women, and it's very hard for them to confront a woman and what she's doing. But I think that's a very necessary part of a relationship, is that you have to be forward about what you will and won't tolerate. When you see a woman for the first time do something that's, maybe she makes fun of men, or maybe she tells you you're not going out with your friends, or maybe she starts to put a lot of boundaries on
that
women.
Should be a red flag.
Exactly.
Yeah. How are you accepted or not accepted in academia and by your friend? I mean, what's your life like having these thoughts and beliefs?
I used to be sort of a big feminist, so my family was driven crazy by those thoughts. Now they just sort of tune me out.
Well, wait a minute. How'd you change?
I think it went so far the other way. I think as I got older, when I was younger, it seemed to me that women had some of these problems, and then I realized as I got older that indeed that the society had changed, that the problems that women used to have in some sense have turned around, and there's like a backlash against men. Also, I think because I've seen so many men in my practice, 20 years ago, I had a practice in New York, and one of the first patients I had was a man who was being beaten by his wife, and I couldn't get any help for him. And I realized at that point that, yes, men had, it was a very serious problem. And from there, I just became more open to it. But as far as myself, I mean, people don't bother me too much. Most people are, I think a lot of times people are surprised, or if I talk to women about the book that I wrote, they think it's like a cute book that a psychologist wrote.
Right.
How do you rope a man in or whatever? But I think most men get it. I don't even have to say anything, but they totally get it. And you see this look of like this in their eyes, sort of like, oh yeah, I get that. You don't really have to say that much to them.
And that's another thing, domestic violence in this country, and people don't understand. If you say that men get beaten too by their wives or spouses or whatever, or that it's a problem with men on the receiving end, they look at you like you're some kind of nut job. But all you got to do is look at the Justice Department statistics.
Well, it's true, and there's actually been some really good research that's come out, even from the National Institutes of Health and other places, that show that about 50% of the time, women are instigating domestic violence, and that's a high level. People think like, oh, men don't really get hurt, but what happens is men just don't really report it. We don't really think if a man has a black eye. I mean, remember Amy Winehouse? I mean, she had this boyfriend or husband, and you'd always see him in the papers with a black eye that she gave him. We would never accept that. If a woman has a black eye, like we're seeing with this recent case with Nigella Lawson, I don't know if you're following that, but the cook, the lady who's a chef on TV, there's a bunch of stuff in the papers all about how her husband tried to choke her.
Right, yes, and they got the picture of his hand on her neck in the restaurant or something.
And they're I've even heard reports about how people want to go after him, they want him arrested, this, that, and the other thing, but they used to show pictures of Amy Winehouse's husband all the time with a big black eye that she'd beaten him and punched him in the eye, and nobody cares because people just don't think that it hurts if it's a guy, but it hurts.